Hello, my loves. If you were using law of attraction or manifestation techniques in the aftermath of a massive heartbreak, a betrayal trauma, or even narcissistic abuse, this one's for you. There are three main techniques that I do highly recommend in the aftermath of these experiences, and there are a few that I don't. The first law of attraction technique that I find very helpful is the how would I feel if, getting yourself into the emotional state of how it would feel if you had what you were seeking. Okay, like how would I feel if I was in a loving, warm, mutually respectful, and reciprocal relationship? How would that feel, right? How would it feel if I knew my worth and my value? How would I feel if I was just happy and content in my life and everything was working out in a good way for me? How would I feel if I was safe and I knew I was safe? How would it feel to be truly loved the way that I most desire? How would I feel if I was happy? Happiness is a very hard thing to summon in the aftermath of a big heartbreak, a betrayal, or narcissistic abuse. Sometimes it feels impossible. At first, it will feel impossible, but trying this technique and being consistent with it, like if I were to feel happy, how would it feel? That first little smidgen of a spark, and it will happen. Like it, I remember doing this, I was like, I just can't feel it, it's not there. But after a few attempts, like it did come, and that little spark is there, you just keep blowing on it, keep summoning your own happiness and your own joy, and it's hypothetical. One thing I will say is do not gaslight yourself and say, everything's perfect, everything's wonderful, I am happy, if you're not. Like, that can mess you up psychologically, especially if you've been dealing with gaslighting. The last thing you want to do is to do that to yourself. But thinking hypothetically, like, how would I feel if I were really happy? Will summon that emotion. Like, it'll get you curious. It'll turn on the creative parts of your brain. And if you are in a trauma response, especially if you've been abused for a long time, that creativity has been diminished because you've been in survival mode for so long. So turning on that creative possibility part of your brain is also very healthy for your mental health. You're not lying to yourself. You can still hold self-trust, meanwhile feeling the happiness that you desire to feel. And over time, feeling the happiness that you were able to summon yourself, even if it's small and even if it's fleeting at first, will become so powerful down the road. Like it'll have a snowball effect. And at some point you'll get to this place where you're like, wow, I actually can create my own happiness from like nothing, just from thinking about it. And at that point, like you will no longer be interested in trying to find your happiness from another person. You'll understand why that's impossible. And at that point, like, why would you even want to look to another person for your own happiness? Like, your happiness is inside of you. And once you are creating that for yourself, you can show up to new relationships from a secure place, because you really don't want anybody else looking at you for their own happiness, do you? No, you actually don't. Another benefit of this exercise is once you're summoning your own happiness and your own joy, is that it's gonna highly diminish the amount of rumination and clinging that you're probably doing to your ex. And of course, you're just gonna feel better and you're gonna be more empowered, and that's what we want. The second technique I highly recommend is self-concept work. Recognizing and retraining your subconscious beliefs about yourself is the most important thing to work on. Our subconscious beliefs dictate our behaviors, which then dictates what happens around us, what we allow in, what we tolerate, what we accept, and then also what we won't allow in, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like if we have a belief that we are not worthy of a certain kind of love that we desire the most, like if we don't think that we're somehow worthy of it or that it's attainable, then we will end up pushing away every person or every possibility for that to come into our lives. And then we'll end up being attracted to, accepting and tolerating people who don't give us the love that we want, because that's what's out there for us. You know, there's nothing more. If we have that belief, then we're going to continue to operate in a way that will confirm that belief. We will not respond positively to a good thing until we believe that we are actually worthy of it and capable of having it. And even if we want that thing with our whole hearts, we will somehow find a way to push it away or sabotage it or not even see it if we don't think that we are capable of having it or worthy of it in our lives. And the third highly helpful manifestation technique to use after heartbreak or a big betrayal is living in the end. There's one caveat to this. I highly recommend keeping your ex out of it. If you are doing this practice and your ex's face is on this person, like, try to cut that out. I know it's hard. Just do yourself a favor and think more broadly, okay? A lot of times people who watch these law of attraction videos, they want their ex back because there's this deep attachment to them. Usually it's a trauma bond. If that person has been hot and cold or inconsistent, your brain might be hooked on them via dopamine cycles. I have other videos about that. But you don't want to keep obsessing about this person who obviously isn't showing up for you the way that you want. And it's the hardest thing to do, to like extract them from your mind or from your focus because of these dopamine addiction cycles. But what I do recommend focusing on is what you want in your life. Like broadly, like, I want this really beautiful relationship with another human being where we're living together in harmony, we're going on adventures, it's safe, it's secure, it's respectful, we love each other, there's consistency, there's reliability, it's a secure and beautiful, delicious relationship. Like getting into that state. Keep it broad. Do not put your ex's face on there. Doing this over time will help your system to recognize when the possibility of it's actually in the room. We are attracted to and most accepting of what is familiar to us. Even if familiar is uncomfortable, unsafe, or bad for us, we are more willing to be drawn towards it and to accept it because our nervous system finds comfort in what we already know. So doing these living in the end exercises can retrain your subconscious mind, your somatic body, your brain to start to familiarize itself with feeling good, with feeling safe, with feeling loved, with feeling respected by someone you admire and care about, for feeling mutuality, versus maybe like feeling less than worthy of someone's love, or feeling like you always have to win over somebody or earn someone's love, or you're never quite enough for that person, or everything you do just isn't quite good enough, or you're used to feeling rejection, you're used to feeling left out. If those things are familiar to you, they're gonna feel safe to a certain part of your brain. It sucks. I'm sorry. It's just the way our bodies work. So repeatedly doing living in the end practices, you are paving new pathways in your brain and in your body and your nervous system to accept these really wonderful things that you want to bring into your life. You are laying down a foundation to let your subconscious system know that this is safe, that this is familiar. It becomes more and more and more familiar the more you summon the feelings of safety, of contentment, of feeling inspired, of feeling warm and comfortable and relaxed and joyful. The more you bring those emotions into your body around the experience of whatever it is that you're calling in, the more comfortable and the more familiar that's going to feel. So then when that person shows up in the room or that situation is available to you, you're more likely to be attracted to it. You're more likely to feel safe around it, because if that comes in and you haven't made yourself familiar with these juicy qualities, you're going to be like, whoa, what's that? Like, I don't quite trust it. But if you are practicing feeling that in yourself, your system's already going to be adjusted to it, and you're going to be more of a match to that new type of person or energy coming into your life that you do most want, because you're already resonating on that level. And biologically, because your nervous system is already attuned to these new qualities that you want to experience in your life, when they do show up in the room, you won't have a knee-jerk reaction to ignore or sabotage or reject them simply because your system finds it unfamiliar. At this point, it will be familiar, so you'll easily be able to accept that into your life, which is what we're going for. Just keep your ex's face out of it. And real quick, because it's important to note, I made a whole entire video on this. I'll link it below. But there are some law of attraction techniques that you seriously want to avoid, especially if you are healing from narcissistic abuse. These things have to do with making yourself believe a completely different scenario, making yourself believe, oh, this person actually loves me, they care about me, anything that has to do with that other person, or telling yourself that you are in a safe place. These can have really detrimental effects, especially if you are under the influence of someone else's gaslighting. If the person in your life is lying to you, telling you that you're crazy, that you have a reality distortion disorder, anytime you call out what you're seeing, these kinds of techniques will cause more damage, and you want to avoid them at all costs. Again, I have another video about that. Check it out. I'll link it below. But yeah, all those other techniques that I mentioned previously can do a lot of good. Highly recommend them. It's all self-love stuff, all getting you attuned into what you really want in your life, and that's what we're going for. All right, I hope you found this helpful. If you have anything to say about it, feel free to drop a comment, or if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.